everyone, I'm Trevor, and today we're going to share with you our top tips for visiting Universal Studios Hollywood in 2024. So let's get going. And our first tip is going to be to buy tickets in advance. Now, this is not Disney. There are no reservations. You can just show up and you can buy tickets here at the park, but I highly recommend that you buy them ahead of time just to avoid the line, especially if you want to enjoy rope drop. Get here early, buy your tickets ahead of time. You can go straight to the turnstile, you can get in, you won't have to deal with that part of the crowd. For our next tip, I highly recommend that you stay at the Sheraton or the Hilton closest to Universal Studios Hollywood. There are a couple of hotels in the area that are pretty close by, but those are the only two that are actually like on the property itself. Now, they're not owned or run by Universal, so you're not going to get any like special early entry perks if you're used to Universal in Orlando. They're not going to give you any express perks or anything like that, but they are within easy walking distance. They have free shuttles if you don't want to walk, because the Sheraton's a little bit down the hill, and so it is kind of like a huff to get up the hill, but they're both pretty close. You can go to the City Walk, enjoy the City Walk, walk back to your hotel within 5 to 10 minutes, depending on which of those two hotels that you're staying at, and I highly recommend both of them over some of the other options. I've stayed at both of those as well as some of the other options, and they're honestly the best. A little bit pricier because of it, but it's worth it in my opinion. I also recommend that you show up for park opening. We call this rope drop, and that's because that there are literal ropes across the path at the early hours of the morning that prevent you from getting into the park. Now, they will open the gates 30 minutes prior to park opening. So you can get here about an hour ahead of time, park, get through security, make sure your tickets are in order, and then they'll let you in 30 minutes prior to park opening. And from there, in various increments, they are going to open up these walkways. Now, of course, it's not park opening right now, but we're gonna show you what I mean. You'll steadily actually be able to get closer and closer to the lower lot, because they know most people wanna go down to Super Nintendo World. But one of my favorite things to do at rope drop is actually right over here. They will eventually, at about 15 minutes prior to rope drop, open up the ability for you to come in here to Hogsmeade. And you'll actually be able to enter that land 15 minutes prior. Now, none of the rides will be open, but you'll be able to get in here. And what I was able to do was come all the way over here to Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey, and I was able to get straight into the queue for that attraction 15 minutes prior to park opening, weave my way through the queue, and I was even standing ready to get on the ride 10 minutes before the park opened. And I feel like about 5 minutes before the park opened, they actually started to let us on the attraction. So we were able to get on a ride even before the park opened. So what that meant for me was that I was able to knock out one of the busiest rides in the upper lot before the park even opened, which opened up the rest of the morning for other things. If you would like to see the rest of my rope drop strategy, I'll put a link to it down in the description. By the same respect, you should also stay until park close. And whatever that happens to be, today it's 7 p.m. Sometimes it is later than that. It's pretty off season right now, so that's why it closes earlier, but I recommend you stay until it closes. About an hour to 2 hours before it closes, the park will start to clear out, especially within the last hour. Yes, even here during the off season, and when that's like at 6 p.m. The last time I stayed until park closed, I was able to go into Super Nintendo World at 6 p.m. and do all of the games that they have there that you can do with the power-up band from 6 to 7, including facing Bowser Jr., which was really great. And this was like 3 weeks after it opened. I'm sure it's even less crowded at that time of night. Now here we are a year later. So if you really want to do Super Nintendo World, I recommend doing it either at early entry or at park close. What is the best time of the year to come? Well, we're filming this on Friday, February 23rd. So as you're watching the video, you can check out the crowd levels here for this time of year. And we're actually approaching the wait time board, and I want to show you those in just a second. But in general, the only times that you really want to avoid are going to be spring break and like major holidays. Even during the summer is not so bad. The last time that I was here in the summer in July, I was still able to ride every single ride in the park without an express pass with no issues. So here's what the wait times look like in February. We've got 35 minutes for Harry Potter Forbidden Journey. That's going to be one of the more popular rides in the park. Simpsons is 40 minutes, but that's just because the pre-shows and everything involved just take forever. That ride takes 20 minutes just to get through the pre-shows without anything else. And then, of course, the big one that everyone is going to be concerned about, zoom in here, Mario Kart Bowser's Challenge, 80 minutes. And this is a year after it's opened. It's still the most popular ride in the park, but 80 minutes is so much better than the 3 hours it was for a good portion of the year last year. That being said, how many days do you need for a visit to Universal Studios? Of course, I've mostly covered Disneyland, but we do come here to Universal sometimes. Disneyland, the ideal is 3 days. Do you need that many for Universal? Absolutely not. This is not Universal Studios Orlando that has 2 theme parks and a water park with a 3rd theme park gate on the way. No, this is just a single park, and it has, at best, 12 rides, and that's if you include the Kung Fu Panda show. Some of the rides are not necessarily would be on your highlight reel, so you might be looking at 8 to 10. That's it. You can definitely get those all done in a single day, like I said, even without Express Pass, but we'll talk about Express in just a little bit. So when is the best time to ride Mario Kart Bowser's Challenge? One of my favorite park ticket add-ons that you can do when you purchase tickets is actually to add Super Nintendo World early entry. It's pretty affordable. It starts at $20 a person, and for today in the off-season, being a Friday, it's $25 a person. Still pretty great. You get in a whole hour early. If you show up early, you know, like earlier before early entry even, then you're at the front of the line. You can get into Mario Kart Bowser's Challenge, walk right on, get off the ride, get back in line. About 20-30 minutes later, you'll be able to ride it again, and you can do that all in the opening hour for early entry. It's the best way to ride this ride, in my opinion. Purchasing that early entry also gives you a free Express Pass to the studio tour, provided that you use it before 11 a.m. If you are enjoying this video and finding it helpful, please hit the like and subscribe button. And if you'd like to save money on your next vacation, give my friends a call at Getaway today and tell them that SoCal Disney Dad sent you. Or click my link down in the description and use my coupon code to save on their already discounted packages. Now let's talk about the rides. One of my favorite rides here at Universal Studios Hollywood is right behind me. It's Jurassic World. This is a water attraction that if you are sitting at the front row of the boat, you are going to get wet, and sometimes badly so. Ask to sit in the back if you don't want to get super wet. One of my other favorite rides is Harry Potter Forbidden Journey, and Mario Kart Bowser's Challenge, of course, is the most popular attraction in the entire park. Also, can't forget the studio tour, which we are going to talk about in just a little bit. Now, most of the rides here at Universal Studios Hollywood, including Revenge of the Mummy ride here behind me, are going to have height requirements. The only rides in the park that don't have height requirements are Silly Swirly, Kung Fu Panda Adventure, and the studio tour. Everything else, including The Secret Life of Pets, does have a height requirement. Now, there is a solution to this, and it is called the Child Switch service, which we will talk about in just a minute. But if you would like to learn more about the rides here at Universal Studios, I'll put a link down in the description to my ride guide, which will show you a little clip of each of the rides, their height requirements, and how intense they are. You might be interested in that. I'll also put it at the end of this video. Now, the Child Switch is one of my favorite features here at Universal Studios. It's kind of like Disney's Rider Switch Pass, but the Rider Switch just gives you a free lightning lane. But with Child Switch, everyone goes through the ride line together, and then when you get up to the point where you get onto the ride, the person who's going to sit out with the child goes into the Child Switch room. Everybody else rides it, and then when they're done, they just go to the Child Switch room, swap places, and then the rest of the people come through the exit. It's so much faster. You don't have to wait through the line again. Your party can stay together while you're waiting. It really is great. All the biggest rides have this feature, like Jurassic World, Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey, The Mummy, and more. I'll put the full list of rides right here so you can look through all of those rides to know which ones have Child Switch. But Child Switch isn't the only service that Universal Studios Hollywood offers for rides. They also have a single rider, and Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey is one of those rides that has single rider. I'll put a full list of the rides right here for you. But single rider, well, it's what it sounds like. It lets a single rider go through the line. You can take your whole party in there, but your party will likely be split up because they take one person from the single rider to fill in the gaps whenever the standby line doesn't take up all the seats. It's a way to avoid the long standby line because the single rider is much faster, but again, your party will be split up if you go with a group. So do you need to buy Express Pass? No, I don't think that you do. Now, the building behind me here is the box office, and you can purchase Express Pass here in the park. Now, it will ask you if you want to purchase Express Pass when you buy your tickets online, and it's not any more or less expensive to do it that way. So I just recommend waiting, because if you're not coming in a busy time, you're not gonna need it. Just wait until you get here and see what you get done in the morning, and then you can determine for yourself whether or not you feel like you need it for the rest of the day. I do, however, want to make you aware that the Express Pass does not work on Mario Kart Bowser's Challenge, okay? It's just for the other rides that are in the park. Mario Kart is not on the Express Pass. Let's talk about motion sickness. Now, a lot of the rides here at Universal Studios Hollywood are motion simulators, or they involve screens. The one behind me, Transformers, the ride 3D, my wife has a huge problem with it. It always gives her a headache. So if this is you, if you feel like you're in this camp, be aware. Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey has also been known to be nausea-inducing because of the way that the ride whips you around. Again, think motion simulator, mostly with screens. A lot of the rides here are like that. So just be aware that you might have some problems. Bring some Dramamine, maybe wear one of those motion sickness patches, do what you have to do if your family is coming to Universal. In fact, I just got off Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey, and the person behind me just said, wow, I think I'm gonna be sick. So keep that in mind if you're prone to motion sickness. Now, a lot of the rides here will require lockers. That means that you cannot take bags on the attractions. They will provide free lockers for your use while you're on the attraction. But if you're used to Universal Orlando, know that Universal Studios Hollywood has much larger lockers. They even have oversized lockers available for rent for $5. And you'll have to be able to put all your loose belongings in there. But lockers are available for 90 minutes. And they're free for those 90 minutes. If you're after the 90 minutes, it is going to be an additional $5 charge. But again, these lockers are provided for you whenever you come and ride on these bigger rides. If you want to plan for this, just make sure that you bring smaller bags. A Loungefly is going to be just fine, but a supersized backpack, you may have to end up paying for those oversized lockers. But at least you have the option to pay for those, whereas in Orlando, pretty much the only thing that you can use is a crossbody bag. Even a Loungefly is too big there. Next, you should know that Universal is split up into upper and lower lots, and I highly recommend that you get the lower lot done all in one go, and also generally earlier in the morning, because the most popular rides in the park are going to be down there. So if you do that at rope drop or pretty early on in the morning, you'll be able to knock all of this out before the later, busier times of the day in the afternoon. It does take about 7 minutes to get down there, and there are 4 sets of escalators. It takes a while. It's a big commitment to go down to the lower lot, which is why I say when you get down there, just plan to do everything down there before heading back to the upper lot, just to minimize the amount of walking and the downtime that you have to experience to traverse between the upper and lower lots. Now let's talk about the Studio Tour, Universal Studios Hollywood's premier ride, the ride that started it all. In fact, this used to just be a studio lot, and the tour was the first thing that they did just to let people tour the lot. The theme park was built around the popularity of that tour. Universal Studios Orlando does not have a studio tour because it is not on an active studio lot, but Universal Studios Hollywood is. Films and movies and TV shows are actively being filmed here, and when they are in progress, the studio tour has to work around them. You might actually spy a famous person, an actor or actress, when you're on the tour. They'll probably be in the distance, but it's always possible. Now, because it's off season, it says that the studio tour is currently a 10-minute wait at just after 3 o'clock. But there are times of the year where I've seen the studio tour here be an hour or longer. Now, the ride itself is an hour long, so that's going to factor in when you ride it. I suggest against riding this early in the morning, because the best times to be riding rides is from park opening to about an hour to 2 hours after park opening. My suggestion then is to come to the studio tour around 11 to 12 o'clock. Now, because of the length of the tour being 60 minutes, it is highly recommended that you use the restroom before you get on the ride. The studio tour uses these trams to take you around the area. Now, they'll take you past some sound stages, some sets that they have filmed movies on, but they'll also take you through some areas that are pre-planned and choreographed, like the Kong Skull Island segment. They'll give you some 3D glasses for that, so be aware there is some screens and motion simulators on the studio tour, but a lot of the times the studio tour is just dependent upon what types of films are being done on the lot, because they'll have to work around them. So every single ride on the studio tour is different. If you come back in a month, you'll probably go somewhere different because they'll be filming somewhere else and they'll have to bypass. It's a really great time. I highly recommend the studio tour. It is the reason to come to Universal Studios Hollywood in the first place. Well, as I said, it's been a pretty chill off-season day here today in February. Now, there are quite a lot of people in the park all the same, but the ride lines aren't too terribly long. But what if you find yourself coming to Universal Studios during a really busy time? Maybe it is spring break, or maybe you're planning over 4th of July weekend or something like that. Make a priority list. Know what rides and what attractions that you want to do, whether you're going to go to Waterworld, or you want to do Jurassic World, or you want to do Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey. Make a priority list and then prioritize, that's the whole purpose of the priority list, those attractions. Do them first. That way, if you don't get everything done in a single day, you'll leave still having done everything you wanted to do. Now let's talk meal tips. I highly recommend that you eat at off-peak times. Try not to go to meal places, like for lunch, try not to show up at noon. There's gonna be a hugely long line. For dinner, try not to show up at 6. There probably will be a long line. Right now is an awesome time to come in here. I was over here maybe a half an hour, 45 minutes ago, and the line was out the door. But right now, you could walk straight up to the cafeteria style area, grab a tray, and get some food without any wait. Now, my favorite place to eat here at Universal Studios Hollywood is at the Three Broomsticks here behind me. It's located in the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, and it is, in my opinion, the best food in the entire park. Some other great places are the Jurassic Cafe, which we highlighted earlier. In addition, I also like the Hollywood and Dine at the front of the park. Additionally, some locations do also have mobile order food and drink pickup, which is the best way to avoid the lines. Next, let's talk about Super Nintendo World, because there is a lot going on here. There's a lot to see, there's a lot to do, and it's a pretty crowded land, so I want to help you navigate it. Power-up bands are required to play the games here in the land, and especially to fight off against Bowser Jr., which you can only do if you beat 3 of the 4 games here in the land. Now, you can purchase them here in the land, right here at these kiosks. It's pretty easy to do. However, if you are getting in the night before, I highly recommend making a trip over to the City Walk. There is a Super Nintendo World store there in the City Walk that you can purchase these power-up bands ahead of time. It'll save you some time. You can get them configured in your room that night. You won't have to worry about it while you're here. As I mentioned, there are a whole bunch of games, and this one's kind of like a whack-a-mole. You can see them hitting the clocks there. It's like the alarm is going off and they need to whack it to reset the alarm. And you need to beat these games. You actually do have to beat them. There's a certain score that you have to get in order to pass. And if not, then I don't think you get the key. Although I do believe that's up to team member discretion. I've seen them award the keys, even if you didn't do that great on the games. But this game right here is actually one that I think you do need to get it right. You have a couple of chances to hit the POW block, and it will shoot that shell up the pipe. You need to be able to get that shell to hit the blue POW. You can see the golden key on top, so if you can't get that blue POW, then they won't award you the golden key. As I mentioned earlier, you need 3 golden keys in order to face off against Bowser Jr. We already mentioned Mario Kart Bowser's Challenge earlier on in the video, so we're gonna skip right by that and go over here to Toadstool Cafe. A year after opening, Toadstool Cafe still does require reservations in order to be able to get into here. As you see, there's a sign up that says, sorry, it's fully booked for today. So this is one of those places that you are going to need to come down here early for. They've got a QR code up front. Earlier on in the day, you make a reservation. It'll tell you what time to come back, and then you'll be able to get in there and place an order. Now, a year ago, it took about an hour to get up to where you could place an order. I hear that nowadays it's about 15 minutes, so it has improved. Not quite as bad as it used to be, but you still will need to make those reservations, and they do disappear fast. So if you want to eat at the Toadstool Cafe, I recommend coming down here earlier on in the day to do that. It's another reason why we tell you to come to the lower lot in the morning. We've talked about its premier ride and food location, but it's time to talk about the wizarding world of Harry Potter. Specifically, we have Hogsmeade here at Universal Studios Hollywood. In addition to Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey, they also have Flight of the Hippogriff, which I highly recommend that you give a try. It's a small little roller coaster, but it is fun all the same. Of course, get yourself a butterbeer, but not just one, maybe two or three. They're just that great. They have multiple locations where you can get them. The primary one, though, is this cart right here next to the three broomsticks. You can get hot, cold, and frozen butterbeers. Frozen is my personal favorite, but I know a lot of people who also like the hot butterbeer. One of the fun things a lot of people like to do is go to Ollivander's Wand Shop. Now, there is a show in there, a wand ceremony, if you will, where the wand chooses the wizard. They usually pick a kid to do this, and it's quite fun. Anybody can go in and see the wand experience. That is free, but if you want to actually purchase a wand, you do have to pay for it. They don't give the kid selected a free wand either, just in case you're wondering. Wands are useful at various points throughout the land. They give you a map when you purchase the wand, and you'll be able to find those. They're also found by these little symbols that are on the ground in front of the area. You have to wave your wand, and it will activate the window, and something will happen. If it doesn't work, just go back to the wand shop and tell them. They'll exchange it out. Sometimes the little sensor at the top of the wand gets broken or busted, and you can switch them out so long as you purchased it the day of. Now, if you break it when you get home and then you come back like 3 months from now and it doesn't work, they're not going to switch it out for you. It is an expensive purchase. I couldn't exactly find the price in the store, but if I remember, it's in the $60 range. It's not cheap. Additionally, they usually have some shows. As you can tell, there's a big construction wall up right now in front of the area where they do have one of the shows. But earlier, right over here, I did see a meet and greet going on with the wizards from Durmstrang and Beauxbatons. That's it. Anyway, additionally, although I haven't seen it because I've never been here at nighttime for their show, but they sometimes have a nighttime show over here in the castle. I don't know if they do during the off season. You can check online. I'll put the information on your screen right now with regards to their nighttime shows. You can have a look at their calendar for when you're coming to see what time all those types of shows are going on. Now, if you are a Potterhead like myself, you want to make sure that you visit Honeyduke's Sweet Shop here at Hogsmeade before you leave, because they have a whole bunch of goodies inside that are straight out of the Harry Potter films, like exploding bonbons, chocolate frogs, and the fizzing Whizbees. Oh, and I almost forgot, you can get Bertie Bott's every flavor beans. Not that you want to, but buyer beware. And for our last tip, I'd actually like to talk about package pickup. Whether you're buying something from Honeyduke's or the best store in Hogsmeade is actually at the end of Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey. Whether you're buying these things and you don't want to have to carry them around all day at the park, you can send the packages to the front of the park at the Universal store. They'll collect all the items that you purchase throughout the day and put them in one succinct location. Then at the end of the day, you can pick them up there at the store right near the exit, and everything will be waiting for you. It's a really, really great way to avoid having to carry bags and belongings. Well, that's it for our time here today, giving you our best tips at Universal Studios Hollywood. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like and subscribe button. If you'd like to see more videos, I actually put 2 videos here on the screen for you. My ride guide on the top and the food guide on the bottom, where you can check out all the places that there are to eat here as well. We'll put it down in the description too. If you have any questions, go ahead and drop them in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and we will see you again next time.